Welcome to Classic Heart, the BMW Group Classic Podcast. This is JP, and my guest today has quite an extensive list of race victories and race participation. It is a 5-time 24 Hours of Le Mans winner, the first one to win on a diesel car, 2 times the 12 Hours Sebring, 24 Hours of Daytona, 24 Hours Nürburgring, and the list can go on and on and on. Please welcome Emanuele Pirro.
This car is the most honest car you ever see.
It's been a dream ever since I've had it.
The first time I heard that engine screaming, I thought, I gotta have one of those.
It's the joy of driving.
What's great about a BMW Classic is the community that surrounds it.
When you listen to that, that's why we're here.
Emanuele, how are you?
Very well, JP. Good to talk to you, and warm hello to all the listeners.
Thank you very much. I know that you are a very modest person, and normally you don't like if I speak about your racing career. But as a race driver, this is the normal thing to do. And we only did this not to show off how cool you are and what a good driver you are. We just do this to put some reference for our younger audience to see what you do. Emanuele, you are Italian. Born in Rome?
Yes, I'm Italian. I'm 63 years old, and I was born with a virus. The virus is the huge passion for. When I was a kid, it was just car racing. You know, I was born in 1962 when communication was very different. So you had a vague idea of what Formula One and car racing was, but by far not as much as now. But I had an incredible passion, and I was lucky because I was brought up, especially in summertime, in a countryside where I could ride my little motorbike that I received at the age of 6. My father, like some other fathers, you know, at the time it was less forbidden, let me drive the car at a very, very early stage, first on his knees and then by myself. And somehow this fire started to pick up more and more. But again, when you have no idea of how to do something, it just stays as a dream. And until I found out that there was a small version of a racing car existing, and this small version was called go-kart.
Yes.
So rented one, fell in love, and slowly but surely I started to race karts. And when you do quite okay in karts, let's say,
it's a start.
Yeah, when you do pretty well in karts, let's say.
Yes.
And my luck was that there was a generation of racing drivers, especially from Italy, 1, 2, 3 years older than me, who made it to Formula One through karting. Riccardo Patrese, Elio De Angelis, Eddie Cheever, Andrea De Cesaris, and so somehow people started to realize that if you were good in karting, there was a good chance that you were good in cars. So I got a good opportunity with the entry-level formula, equivalent of Formula 4 today, won that championship at the first attempt, and then things went on. So I am an incredibly lucky guy who enjoys life every minute till now.
Absolutely. And just, you became then 2 times Italian karting champion, which is quite an achievement. Was your father able to celebrate this with you?
Yes.
He must be hyper proud.
Yes, and he was, when you look at CV or you look at the results, a title, a win is a win, but often behind a result or a win or a title, there's a lot of difficulties, a lot of hurdles, a lot of uncertainty, and it was a 6 events championship, and then me and my competitor, who was De Angelis, at the very last event, and every event was 3 races, and the best 2 out of 3 races each event. So 6 weekends, 3 races per weekend. Last weekend, we were equal points. The first race, I win. Second race, I crash, and he wins. So he starts first, and I start last with a broken card. And the broken card appears to be not repairable. And then somebody says, try to do don't give up. Try to change it. If you won't be in time, you won't be in time. Don't have regrets. Try to change whatever is broken. So they tried to change it. The race was about to start. It was a formation lap, and they just finished the kart on the last minute. So I was starting last, catch up for the start, just made it to the grid, start the race, won the race.
Amazing.
De Angelis didn't finish the race, and I won the championship. So you can imagine what a relief. And I have to say, I am kind of modest. More than that, I hate people who sort of tell the world how good they are. This is why
bragging
I
around
tend to
and
be
stuff like
low
this. Yeah.
However, that time on the cool down lap, when you cross the start and finish, I thought, I am Italian champion. It means that today I'm the best karting driver in Italy. And I couldn't believe it was wonderful.
That must be so cool. Emanuele, you just mentioned that you learn some things in sport that are a good lesson for life. Could you name us some examples? What do you mean by this exactly?
When you have success, your path is full of failures. And so how you deal with failures is very, very important. So these things in sport, when you do sports at necessarily at the high level, when you do sport, these things happen to you very quickly. You have competitions, you have exams, let's say, challenges, fail, win, not win. So you have a result of the work you have done pretty quickly. In my Formula One career, I'd been test driver for McLaren Honda.
Yeah.
And once I met Mr. Honda himself. And in the development program, this was mainly for engines, the McLaren development program.
Yeah.
And there were a number of engineers changing quite often. So, of course, I was very honored to meet him, but I told him, Mr. Honda, why do you, the team is so good, why do you keep changing so many engineers? And he said,
Yes.
Emanuele, we do motorsport for two reasons. We use it as a reward for our production engineers, the good ones, they are sent to Formula One, and as a training. Because in Formula One, but he said Formula One, but I think it applies to every form of motorsport, and BMW knows very well what I'm talking about.
Yes.
In motorsport, 99% good job is not good enough, and 100% good job not on time is not good enough either. And I think this is really important message that you learn from sport.
I believe sometimes, of course, the base is that you work hard, that you have a vision, that you follow your vision, and that you make the right decisions on that way. And if you do wrong decision, just circle back to go on the right track back. But sometimes constellations just happened out of pure destiny and luck, I would say.
My attitude has always been, look at myself in the mirror whenever things didn't work, or even when things didn't work. And the first question I asked myself is, what could I have done to change a situation or to improve the situation? Even if it was only 5% due to me and 95% due to the others. And I think this is an attitude that maybe doesn't make you, does it never make you 100% happy, but it helps you to grow and to improve.
Yeah.
Before you become an established professional driver where the target is to achieve a more or less competitive car, but you will always have a contract.
Mm-hmm.
In the early days, for a number of years, is pass or fail, pass or fail, pass or fail. And fail means no more racing. I don't come from a wealthy family, so fail means go back to the plan B is not plan B, it's plan Z.
Yeah, I understand.
Z.
And I mean, you made it into Formula One because you drove for
Benetton and Scuderia Italia.
And
yes.
Scuderia Italia. So how was this like for you? If you compare this to your touring, was this before or after the touring trophy career?
So I will try to summarize a 30-plus years career very, very shortly.
Yes, let's go. Time is ticking.
Karting, single-seaters. At one stage in single-seaters, when I was in Formula 2, I was asked by, believe it or not, BMW to drive touring cars. And I gave it a chance, although touring car was at that time of my career, not my target and not my ambition, but my two best friends in motorsport Gerhard Berger and Roberto Ravaglia were racing there. So I gave it a try, and I saw it immediately, or I realized that this could have been my plan B, let's say, if my plan A, which was get to Formula One, would not have worked. So I did one full season with BMW. At the time, it was the World Touring Car Championship, which we won with Roberto Ravaglia. And this was the first year of the M3, one of the best cars I ever drove in my life. And I think you know what I'm talking about. The first E30.
Oh, mega.
1987.
Wow.
Yes. So that was the only touring car. So in my mind, my career, single-seater career, had finished. But this is another message I would like to share with the listeners. At the end of the year, a dear friend, because I was living in UK at the time, a dear friend, Stefan Johansson, who was racing for McLaren together with Alan Prost.
Yeah, a great Swedish racing driver.
Yeah, a really cool friend. And he called me up and he said, Emanuele, Marlboro, and I was actually a Marlboro driver. Marlboro wants to do a commercial, advertisement commercial with the McLaren in Phoenix, Arizona. Alan Prost cannot make it. McLaren is looking for a driver. Would you like to do? We have fun. They pay you. And I said, sure. And then I drive a Formula One car. So I
was
went
this the first time?
No, I had the test. I had the test with Benetton BMW 3 years before, which went very well, and this is why then I eventually got to Formula One.
We spoke about BMW, Benetton BMW, but there was also a team called Schnitzer. And I mean, everyone who is a little bit into BMWs and the racing knows Team Schnitzer. What was your first race for Schnitzer?
That race in Monza in 1985. Somehow I got this call from Dieter Stappert, who was the sporting director, and they said, I'm Dieter Stappert, blah, 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 and I knew Roberto and Gerhard were racing. Would you like to do this race? And I said, sure. Again, this at that time, not that I was a snob, but I didn't think about touring cars. I was completely focused on my single-seater career. Had I said no, because for me this was not of an interest, I would have lost a huge career opportunity. So, yeah, sure, let's try. I went and I found out different way of driving. This was with the 635, and I'm sure you guys remember the 635, which was hand-painted, a car that looked like an X-ray. You could see through the seat, the engine, the suspension. This was a piece of art.
Wow,
so
mega.
It made me very nervous also not to crash it.
Yeah. And you drove together then with Dieter Quester.
With Dieter Quester.
I mean, he also was quite a character, I would say.
More of a character. I think he was a one of a kind. However, I have to say, we were a little bit laughing. He was a lot older than us.
Yeah.
And
so he was the senior on the team.
Absolutely. And I mean, we were really junior. So I think he had the right age for touring cars. It was us who were a little bit too young. However, he was so much into fitness and always traveling with this box of muesli and whatever, which now is normal. So
absolutely.
In all fairness, he was ahead of the times. Yeah. And I was very proud to drive with him because he was the senior driver.
Yeah. So, and let's explain also a little bit, because we might have one or two listeners who have no clue about what touring cars mean. And because you said that you were not into it actually too much, I mean, we're very lucky you did eventually. But how would you describe touring cars?
Touring cars has been a motorsport category very important for manufacturers, because you know what they say, which is really true. Win on Sunday, sell on Monday.
Absolutely.
There are some race cars starting with single-seater and Formula One, but also sports cars, the Le Mans cars, that look very much different from a road car. So BMW has done a lot in Formula One, has been world champion, has done a lot in sports cars, has won Le Mans in 1999. But what a manufacturer wants, he wants to use motorsport as a showcase to show how high the technology is in for them, but also as a marketing showcase. And so to be able to race cars that look from outside very similar to what people can buy has always been very important. And BMW, and this I have to say, it's something that must be really highlighted. Even when BMW was involved at the highest level of motorsport, which means Formula One or Le Mans, they always kept a touring car program going on, whether it was DTM, European Championship, whatever. So they well understood the value of racing a car that people can somehow buy. And in my M3 days, at that time, the regulations were, you had to have a mass production car. I think you had to have like 5,000 items built for the road market in order to raise that model. So BMW created the M3, and the outside shape had to be exactly the same as the road car.
Yeah.
So BMW created a car because aerodynamics are obviously very important, with proper aerodynamics, with the spoiler in front, with the rear wing, that was sold. And so in one shot, they created a tremendous race car and a tremendous road car, on which I had one BMW E30 to drive on the road, because again, these were different times. I talk about the late 80s, but the fun I had on the road with that car, I would be jailed I don't know how many times now.
Yes, and we don't want to encourage anyone doing anything on public roads. But I mean, I cannot agree more, because the E30 touring car was in the touring class was such an amazing car. And yeah, I mean, it looked exactly like the from the track to the road. And if you compare the driving with the 635, how would you say what was the difference in a sense?
Well, whenever you have something that you like, you think it's difficult to do something better. But from 635, which was a car, let's say, at the end of its racing life. Yeah. The M3, it was like a dream, because 635, it was like it was a big car, and it had a way of riding the road with vertical oscillation. I remember very well exiting the corner. The car was sort of pumping, going up and down, and I can sit in the car and drive it right now. The M3. Immediately, it turned out being an extremely nimble car, so very reactive, much stiffer, and it's one of the 2 or maybe 3 racing cars, maybe 2, where I felt the most on top of it. There was a period in my career where I really thought I could do anything with that car. And for a racing driver, to drive a machine with which you are 100% in synchrony, and you think there is nothing that can go wrong. The confidence that I had with that car in that period of my career was incredible and very rewarding, really rewarding. Yeah. And this showed in Macau, where Macau is a circuit. I think we all know where Macau is, near Hong Kong. And it's a very important race, especially for that part of the world. And it's probably the most challenging street circuit, or even circuit in the world. It's a very long circuit with a very high-speed part and a very low speed, or high speed, very narrow up the hill. It's an incredibly challenging circuit. Okay. Very important for the Asian market. So for BMW and Mercedes, that was the race you wanted to win. And especially Mercedes was putting a huge effort with the publicity campaign and bringing the best cars and the best drivers. And for 2 years in a row, I beat them, and that was
in the small. So this was the Mercedes 190, right?
Yes, the 190,
that you were competing
which again
against.
was purposely made for racing. Yeah. This was the answer to the M3.
Yes,
equally successful, I have to say.
And I mean, they had. I think this was the time when Mercedes was heavily investing in race successes over all categories, and so I think it was a strong opponent there. Against who you raced in the two races in Macau?
My side, there was Roberto Ravaglia and Winkelhock.
Yeah.
And Mercedes side, Klaus Ludwig, Bernd Schneider, and Ellen Lohr.
Yeah.
But Klaus and Bernd were the toughest guys. They were really strong drivers. So the rivalry between us was very, very high, especially with Klaus Ludwig. Very high rivalry.
Yeah, I could imagine that. But Emanuele, I would like you to take us back to the year, I think it was 1990, when the first race against Mercedes at Macau happened, right?
Yes.
So I could imagine there was a high tension.
Especially in a race like in a circuit like Macau between guardrails. And if you have a few minutes, not you because you know, but you listener, listener, have a look in YouTube because Macau is a great race to watch. You are among guardrail, among arm cob, or walls all the way through. So the balance between aggressivity and finesse and going close to the wall but not touch the wall. The walls bite very hard. And on top of that is a long race. So the concentration when you're there is really high. In my time, you were afraid, or I was afraid, especially in the fast categories, of hurting myself or even to die, because I've seen people dying even in front of me. And you don't have to forget about these things, but find a place in your brain where they don't really appear like a flashing light. And fear is the same as a sense of responsibility towards a manufacturer who was spending so much effort, and you are then trying to finishing the job, trying to keep this in the back of your mind. Otherwise, you become too prudent and you don't make the job. So it's a very fine balance. But I mean, this is the difference between an okay racing driver and a good racing driver. The true champions are those who perform better in a race than in testing or training. The less good champions are those who can do something good, but when there is something at stake, they can't really reproduce it because of being too nervous. So the real champions are those who set the personal record at the final of the Olympic race. And this is for me a good way of analyzing it. JP, we were talking about Schnitzer before, but then we sort of deviated, and especially because this is a BMW podcast, I would like to spend enough words about Schnitzer, because Schnitzer.
What was the role of Schnitzer?
Schnitzer was the BMW works team throughout a large number of years. Not the only works team. Sometimes there have been others, but for me, the best team, and it is the team I started driving for since race one. And when I say Schnitzer, I mean Charlie Lamb. And the core of mechanics and technicians. In those days, 85, 86, those days, even a works team was rather small. And Charlie Lamb, and I'm not the only one who says this, is the best team manager I ever come across. Ask Gerhard Berger, ask all drivers who have been working with him. He was a man and capable of extracting the best out of everybody.
Yeah.
Well, apart from being a great organizer, a great technician, a very charming person, but one of Charlie's great quality was he was putting you in the best sweet spot to deliver everything. So he was giving you responsibility. He was empowering you. Yeah. I felt I want to win with him, for him. And you just find yourself at the best of yourself. And I have to tell you a little episode, because he was also an incredibly cool guy. We were in Australia, 1987, at the end of the second last race of the World Touring Car Championship, and Roberto and Ravaglia and I, we were fighting with Klaus Ludwig and Klaus Nitzwitz, who were the bad guys for us with the Sierra Cosworth. So it was a very intense championship. We are in testing at this Calder Park racetrack near Melbourne. And Calder Park is an oval, a small oval with very high banked corners, and then an infield, actually an outfield, because it was outside the oval. And this was the first time after my Daytona experience many years ago that I was in such a steep banked corners. So we were testing just alone, and then I stopped in the pits. It was such a good feeling, when you are at very high speed in this bank corner, the car is jumping and you are squashed to the ground, very strong forces. And I told Charlie, this is so cool. You have to try. I said, how? Come with me. So he jumped in the car. Of course, no overall, no seat, no helmet. He's just walked in, and he sat in the chassis, holding himself in the roll bar. I'm not proud, because this was crazy, but this happened, so I have to share this with you.
Yeah, please.
And so I start, and of course, you can imagine that I produced the best lap I could produce. I went as fast as I could. And then I thought, I want to make him feel the strongest feeling on the banking, although I will be fired probably, because, to hold yourself without the seat, without safety belts, like this, I was sure he was going to kill me. But again, I want to go hard or go home. I went as fast as I could. I stopped, and I was prepared for whatever bollocks he could give me. And then, in the coolest possible way, he said, Emanuele, I hope you noticed that the oil pressure in the banking was dropping below safety point. So I tell you,
that was the only comment.
Respect for this guy. Yeah, this was, of course, I think he wanted to not to give me the satisfaction of screaming, but that was super cool.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that Jochen Nerposch at the Nürburgring, after the passing of Charlie, he said that for him, for many decades, Charlie was the heart and soul of Schnitzern. I think it's actually a quite nice impression.
Absolutely. We had a tremendous time. It's I hate to look in the past with nostalgia, but these were really, really great days together.
I love to hear that, and I never met Charlie, but I saw lots of interviews and read about him, and I was at the same events where he was speaking, but I never met him in person. But I could agree on that. And also for the teaching part, I can tell everyone who's tuned in, Emanuele is a very technical driver. And he can't stop being a technical driver. And I remember a tour, it was actually in a BMW, a modern one. You were sitting in the back seat, and Katerina Kuvalova was also part of our podcast. So if you want to listen how her podcast was, you can find it also in the list of podcasts from the Classic Hard podcast. So I remember that we were going for lunch in the back mountains of Tuscany or something like this. And
I know where you
I was driving very, very carefully, and I thought I'd drive a fantastic line up the mountains. And then after a while, there was your comment from the back, JP, do you like driving in the mountain roads? And this was implicated. I mean, it was absolutely. It's like I was like devastated, and so I mean. You mean it only good, I know, but I was devastated.
I tried to find a very polite and diplomatic way to share with you what, to me, an ideal line would be on the road. Every time I do corners, I always try to drive well and make good lines, regardless of the speed. So I was trying to, let's say, tell you that my ideal line was slightly different. But to be also nice to you now, I can also say that racing line is subjective. It's not an objective science. So maybe I just try to be nice, JP.
Yes.
No, but
thank you very much. And
you were 95%. 95% perfect.
Come on.
And I just wanted to add that little 5%. The little
that's
cherry
very kind
on
of
the
you.
sweet and
we go.
nice cake.
Maybe we go for another ride, and then I try to be on the 100%, as you mentioned in the beginning. Always be on the 100%. No, but this is just a little anecdote because you were very like the way it came from the back. Right out of nowhere, it was so funny. I laughed so much.
If I can be perfectly honest, after I told you, I was even proud of myself that I choose a very nice way.
Yes. Okay, we stop about my driving
when
skills now.
You pat your shoulder and said, you haven't been that hard, Emanuele. Well done.
Yeah, I can agree on that. But you have done very well in that. So we spoke about touring racing and we spoke about Formula One. And I mean, we cannot have this conversation without speaking about Le Grand Dame of racing, the 24 Hours of Le Mans. You won 5 times with Audi. But there's your second race in Le Mans is, of course, with a legendary car, driving together with Thomas Pcher and Dindo Capello, the McLaren F1 GTR.
Absolutely.
I mean, BMW powered car.
Yes. And this was a preparation for our Le Mans adventure.
Yes.
I actually would like to tell you that, as I told you, I joined BMW in 85, and I was very, very happy, especially with Schnitzer, but very, very happy. And I had no intention whatsoever to change. Unfortunately, a new boss arrived at Motorsport, and just let's put it this way, the chemistry was not there. I would have been happy with BMW my whole life, and I have to say it turned out to be good for me, because I went to Audi, was very committed to motorsport, and then went to Le Mans. So I have to say that was for my career a good move, because it enabled me to win 3 touring car championships and 5 Le Mans. So no regrets, but I was very, very happy with BMW. And Le Mans has been super sweet, and especially because I have to say I started my Le Mans path with a very cruel weekend in 1981. I saw 2 lethal accidents in a row, and this all happened in 1 hour. And all on the straight. On the straight means that it's not a driver error. To me, that was a big shock. But I told myself, never again I'm going to come back to this place. This is not the racing I want, I will never come back. And then sliding doors, life circumstances, I came back, and not only I won 5 times, not only I have been 9 consecutive years on the top 3, but I consider Le Mans as my place, I established a very, very good relationship with a lot of fans. It's just a marvelous place, and every time I go back for the 24 hours now, it's just a wonderful place to be. So how the worst nightmare can turn into the sweetest dream.
Yeah, absolutely. And Le Mans was and still is, for me, one of the most exciting races of all the races, in my opinion. Winning Le Mans is amazing. Winning for the first time in a diesel is also a big achievement. You had the Davidoff livery, right, in the McLaren in 1998?
No, I had Loctite.
Loctite it was. Loctite. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So, but was it a long tail, or was it
a long tail? It was a long tail.
Long tail. Yeah, and I mean, this is one of my favorite cars of all times.
It was.
I have to admit.
It was even more special for me. I spare you all the details, but when I was test driver at McLaren in late 80s, early 90s, Gordon Murray was one of the engineers, and he designed that car in that very time. So I knew beforehand that this McLaren was being designed, and I listened and enjoyed very much your podcast with David Clark.
Yes.
And I really encourage people to listen to it, because David Clark, amongst all the other things, he was the director of sales for that iconic model, and he has a tremendous amount of anecdotes. However, I was told that this car was under this design and construction, and Gordon Murray is one of the best designers of all time, not only because he was a tremendously skilled designer, but he was and is an artist. So his Formula One cars were not only fast but also beautiful, and attention to detail and everything. So I could only imagine that a designer like him, when he put his characteristics and skills into a road car, or sort of a roadish car, because it's
roadish car. I think that's a good description. Actually, it was the first 12-cylinder of BMW made you driven.
Yes.
And I think that's an amazing. And Emanuele, we should have touched also, and I said willingly have touched what you're doing now, because we haven't spoken about the vintage racing. We haven't spoken about your roles in the FIA, where you are in the singer-seater committee, and you do in the driver safety thing, the driver association, all these kind of things. The problem is your lifespan is too long for our podcast. So I have a real dilemma, my friend.
No, I hear you, and I can't help you, because also I don't have the quality of being condensed. I tend of.
I loved every single second of it.
Talk a little bit too much, but sometimes I see my life, and I tell you, when I look in the rearview mirror, which doesn't happen very often, I have a great smile, because I've been so privileged to make this path.
I think these are very nice closing words, because that's also encouraging. Age is just a number. Do what you like and do it with passion. And I think that's very important. And I would like to thank you, because I really know that you normally, you're a bit like Niki Lauda, who barely looked back and was talking about his past. And I know that there's something very special that you opened this and took the look into the mirror back into your career together today with us here at the BMW Group Classic Podcast, Classic Heart. So thank you very much for this, Emanuele. This was really amazing. So many cool stories. I actually felt the tension in Macau. I understand what it means to be in Le Mans and things like this. So thank you very much for sharing all of this. And it has been a great, great pleasure. And I hope we can do this again.
Pleasure was mine. And I hope you guys enjoyed it, and maybe put something in the pocket, because I think life is about learning and enriching yourself every day. So thank you for having given me this opportunity, and keep doing this, especially talking about history, because we are who we are because of who we was and our parents have been.
Absolutely. And there's nothing to add, because this is a fantastic closing, as I said in the beginning. And I would like to thank also you for joining us, everyone, in this episode of Classic Heart. And if you like us, then do us a favor and show it, because you can subscribe to our podcast. You can subscribe also on YouTube. And also, if you give us some thumbs up, it would help us to beat the algorithm, and maybe more enthusiasts in BMWs will have the chance to listen to us. So please support us in a way. And also you find some contact details in our show notes. If you have an idea or would like to suggest a guest, please feel free to do so. We are very looking forward to this. And of course, as usual, this podcast is not possible without the great team. And we spoke about the importance of a great team in motorsport, but it's also important for our podcast. So I would like to thank our producer and editor, Friederike von Königswald, and also everyone at Scenario Studio, namely Marcus and Alex, for doing this with us together, this fantastic journey of the Classic Heart podcast. Thank you very much, and grazie a lei, Signore Pirro. Bye-bye.